Hey everyone, welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a show dedicated to the incredible survivors of child sexual abuse across the world. I'm your host, Gloria Masters, and each week it's my honour to bring to you an interview with a fellow survivor. The reason for that is because one voice is great, but many is exponentially greater, and what one person may say may help you on your journey. So this is dedicated with love to all the amazing survivors out there. Today, as with every other show, there is a trigger warning. We don't want you triggered. If you start to feel that way, please do stop the recording and go and do something different. There are show notes below this that will help you and provide resource and support. So today I have part 2 with the amazing Alan Goodall. He is with us from Hamilton, which is in the North Island of New Zealand. He's about 2 hours away from me. It's quite exciting for me because I don't often get to interview Kiwis. And he is a survivor training to be a peer support person. He also runs men's groups, and he also does run a private men's group. And he's with us today. He experienced child sexual abuse from 3 different perpetrators over many years. And honour to have you back in here with us, Alan. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you for having me again. Good to be here.
Awesome. So, we're at the point really in our interview, finishing off with part 1, where we're looking at you starting to recognise and perhaps deal with some of the trauma you experienced as a young man, I guess. How are you able to talk us through a little bit of that, please?
Yeah, so as my previous explanation, it ended at 14,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just locked it away and I carried on with life. But my life was filled with fear and panic attacks and social speaking, all that sort of stuff. And the silly thing is, I didn't connect the two together. You know, I just thought I had this problem. Something was wrong with me, a mental case. And but there was a real reason behind it, and that took the longest journey till I was probably about 45, I think. After seeing a lot of people and that counsellors, I never once told anybody about my sexual abuse. So all I went to was for my symptoms, and I eventually got to a hypnotherapist here in Hamilton, and she hypnotized me, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, am I hypnotized? I've got an itchy ear. Do I scratch it? All this sort of stuff. I can hear a noise outside. Do I, react to it? And then next minute, I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm just throwing all this crap out onto the ground. And she said I was talking out of the side of my mouth. I was crying. My nose was running, and it was like a bolt of lightning. Where the hell did all this crap come from? And yeah, so we started talking about it and that, and oh, I felt terrible, crying, upset, angry. I was so angry because this woman forced it out of me, and I have locked it away so long. How dare she, and all that sort of stuff. And then, she went through the system, not the system, went through the steps of how I'm to deal with it by putting it in a suitcase and put in a big dark hole. I'd already done that previously, but however, we had to do that again. And then she got me to close my eyes and think of a beautiful place to go to when I got into this situation, because I was going to her to help me with my panic attacks, nothing to do with my child abuse, because that wasn't a problem to me. That was locked away.
Yeah.
So
No connection there.
no connection, had nothing to do with it.
No.
And all of a sudden, bang, the two freight trains collided. And that was like, whew, boy, did I have a moment then. And yeah, so she worked through that and she gave me an exercise to do when I've had these panic attacks or whatever. You know, I was to hold my thumbs like this and count to 10, and magically it all went away. No, it didn't. So again, the realization was I'd spent a whole lot of money. I'd seen her several times. Yes, she did bring it out of me. And from there, that started my healing journey, unbeknown. Because the first thing I did was went home and told my wife and put her in shock because she didn't know. And then from there, I started telling people. And then the anger got into me and the guilt and the neon light and that I'm this person and all that. And things that happened over the years, I then understood how I reacted to them because of this guilt that I was hiding. And because I was hiding this guilt, if something close along the lines of anything like that happening, and I happen to be an expert about it because I know about it, but hey, you know, what were they thinking of me? Am I a perpetrator or am I someone that gets into that sort of thing? So that carried all that guilt and all that horrible, horrible hate yourself business into me. But I also started realizing that this was not my fault. And I did speak to one good counsellor guy, and it was something he said to me. And again, it wasn't to do with my abuse, but it was to do with my symptoms. And he said, so if you're thinking about a panic attack, how does it work? So I told him I'd wake up in the middle of the night, my mind's racing, my legs are fidgety, I'm hot and cold, sweating, I've got diarrhea, I can't speak, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on, goes on. And, you know, and he says, okay. And he said, now let's talk about you're walking along the road and you see a mate over the other side and you haven't seen him for ages and you've got a fantastic story to tell him and you spot him and you, oh, hey, bro, and you step out to go and tell him. And in the corner of your eye is a big truck bearing down on you. And in your mind, you go, yeah. He said, how do you think you'll react? And I thought about it. I said, oh, well, suppose it's a panic attack. You know, you have a panic attack, but it'll all happen fast. Your heart will bounce, your stomach will drop, your bowels will move, you go, oh, you know, and you have a massive panic attack, but all in seconds. And he said, yeah, that's sort of right. He said, I can see that. And he said, one question, which one will hurt you? And I was like, wow, which one will hurt you? The bloody truck. The other one is my imagination, and that's not going to hurt me. So that's when I realized, and it's stupid, but that's when I realized, well, not stupid, but I realized that I wasn't panic attacks were panic attacks, but I was scared to have a panic attack. So being scared of having the panic attack made me have a panic attack. So then I started teaching myself not to be scared of panic attacks. And how I did that, if I woke up in the middle of the night because I knew I was going to have to do something, go on a course, I'd have that initial start of a panic attack. The first thing I'd say to myself is, wow, I'm having another panic attack. And I'll put a smile on my face while I'm in bed, still in that sleepy mode, panicking, and I'll put a smile on my face and I'll try everything to keep that panic attack down in my body, to try and get that adrenaline running through, to try and get the hot and cold flushes because I enjoy it. And the more I told myself I enjoyed it, the harder it was to get it. And I thought, this is bloody working, you know. And so when after that, probably I started to be able to say speeches and stuff like that because I knew I was going to have a panic attack. But when I had it, I enjoyed it theoretically. And your brain starts to realize, oh, hey, this guy, he doesn't react to that anymore. Why do I bother reacting to it? You know? And eventually I got more and more and more and stronger and stronger and stronger. But in saying that, about 2 months ago, I went on a peer support course and I was getting to that stage, I was starting to panic. And I thought, wow, I haven't had one of these for about 5-6 years. And I could feel it. Yeah. And I could feel it come building up on me. And I thought, I'm going back down my old road again. So I went and had a talk to Tony Baker. you know, Tony.
Hi,
And,
Tony.
and told him what was happening. And the first thing he says to me is, "Wow, Alan, I never knew that." And I said, "Well, I know you didn't know because I never told you. You know, we give each other crap like that." But he said, "This is great. I'll ask you one question," because I told him I was forced to in my other life. I had to go training courses. I had to say a speech. I had to do this. And now that I'm retired, I don't have to do anything if I don't want to do it. But then they wanted me to go on this course, you see. And I thought I'm being told that I have to go on it.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah.
So I had a talk to him and I said, "Look, I'm starting to panic about this course and I don't want to, and I want to go on it." And then I gave him a bit of a rundown of my worries. And he said to me, "Oh, I'll ask you one question." He said, "Doesn't matter what happens, what you say, how it goes, it won't make a stick of difference." He says, "But do you want to go on that course?" And it was like, I felt the relaxation. And I thought, and I said to him, "Yeah, I do. I want to go on that course." And he said, "Well, that's your decision, Alan. I'm not forcing you." And I said, "Yeah, I do want to go." And I went and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the next one.
Mm.
These little realizations, these little wee things, because what he did is he released me from it. Instead of I'm getting told I'm going to, I'm an adult. It's my decision, you know, and that's a huge thing.
Well,
Mm.
see what you've just been sharing, and thank you. It's quite profound. Audience, hello and welcome back, and really important connections here. I think Alan's sharing with us today. But just in even that last little micro sentence or phrase were the words being told what to do versus choosing to. And as a child of 3, you were being told all the time.
You were being told all the time.
So you connect those dots
Mm.
because they're big dots.
Yeah.
Mm.
And, and and the good, if you can say good thing, the thing about it now is, and I believe that's why I don't get triggered anymore. I can remember everything clearly, and it doesn't scare me. It doesn't cause my blood to boil. Although, if he caught on fire, I wouldn't even pee on him to put him out. But you know, um, I it doesn't affect me anymore.
Mm.
That's, but I still have trauma and all that sort of stuff, and that's what I'm working through. But it's getting easier. That's the
And
important thing.
and I think that's really important. And I love what you said. And audience, there's just a little bit of a teaching moment here. Alan's found a way or been able to navigate through to where the triggers are minimal, or if they're there, he's able to take himself out of it. We all do this differently, and I know Alan would support this. So, for instance, when I get triggered, I've learned to ask it, "What are you here to teach me?" Because it's just to give me another little, "Yes, Gloria, this did happen. You're safe now." And yeah, I just want to share that with you, audience, because for some of us, we get triggered a lot. For some of us, we don't very much at all. But whatever lies beneath and whatever strategy you amazing survivors use to help you, just know there is no right way, there is no wrong way, there is your way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
And that sort of covers everything that I'm saying, how I've got to where I am and the way I'm doing it, because I use triggers or examples or interactions as what is it going to do for me to use to help somebody else. So when if something normally would trigger you, instead of going into the trigger mode and go, you go, wow, that's a strong point for me to work on. And if I can work on that and come up with a scenario or a way of dealing with it, maybe I can help someone else with it. Because I've seen people trigger. And I've sat there and I've gone, wow, man, bit of an overreaction, really. It was just something mentioned. But then I hit myself in the head and go, well, he's injured, you know.
And
And
also how judgy, Ellen, how judgy.
oh yes, yeah,
Not
yeah,
doing that. But look, I just want to move you into, we've only got 10 minutes left, but I just want to move you into what are you doing now in terms of the work you're doing in this space? Could you share with us, please? I know
yeah.
you're doing training, but tell us about your group and yeah.
Okay, so I joined Male Support Services Waikato probably about 2.5, nearly 3 years ago, and I joined it as a participant in the group. But the guy that I went and saw and had coffees with and still have coffees with, that's a good thing about this sort of stuff. You get a lot of coffees with a lot of great people. um, he could see my potential because of how I coped with life and got to where I am and became a survivor. Even though I still had a survivor with problems, I still had problems and I'm working through those. But I'm a much better survivor than what I was at the beginning.
Yeah.
You fool your mind thinking you're a great survivor, and then something pops up and you go, oh, wow, I didn't think of it that way. So I've still got a little bit of surviving to do, you know. And so I went join this group. Within 9 months, one of the other guys that's run the group had to have a shoulder operation. So they asked me would I stand in and be a peer support for that. And oh, okay, I haven't had any training, but okay, I'll do it. And I was getting paid to do it. Now I'm on a payroll because I did it. And so I did it for that 9 months. And then he was coming back, Tony Baker, and he was coming back. And I thought, okay, that's the end of it for me. I'll just carry on being part of the group. But they want me to be more, so they sent me on a training course. So I've done one training course, and then there's another one coming up. So yeah, and that's what I'm doing. I'm in the group helping these guys, and I made some really good connections with guys and all that sort of stuff. There's some real tear-jerking stories and all sorts of stuff. But what I find great is that when these guys tell his story, they're telling their only story, their whole world story, and they let it, very carefully, very shyly let it off to us to let us know. Then I say to them, wow, mate, hey, I've been there. I've had that same problem. Well, this what happened to me. I totally understand, my parents, blah, 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 blah. And they go, oh, wow, I thought that was only me. I didn't realize. And they're like light moments for these guys,
Well,
you know.
and you just mentioned something which I love, and it's so great that you were able to share your story or hold the space for them to equally share with you, because one thing we do know as survivors, this all happened under cover of darkness or in secrecy. It didn't happen with a big group, although for some of us it did at times. But usually it's that one-on-one, secretive, hidden, silent, away. So of course, no wonder we often hear, and it's a phrase survivors we often hear, isn't it? I thought I was the only one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing, because I want it to be brought out. I see people's faces when I talk to them. They say, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I belong to Male Supply Services, Waikato." And, "Oh, what's that?" "Oh, male sexual survivors." Some people's eyes glass over. They don't want to know. "Oh, yeah, okay, well, that's too big for me."
See you later. Yeah.
Yeah. And other ones, they're very interested.
Yeah.
And then there's another person that says, "Oh, but it never happened to me." you know. So they could be denying it. You don't know.
It could be, but it's just so widespread. So, Ellen, what would you advise? We've got nearly 5,000 on our show now. We've got 5,000 followers all across the world. Can you think of any tips or techniques you would like to give survivors who maybe are fairly new to this or struggling? Yeah, any
There's one thing that I'd like to say, that in our journey, we've got all the darkness. It's all that. Imagine a river that's flooded with all the slash in it and all the mud and rocks rolling down. Our brain's that river with all that crap in it that's done everything to us. And as it rolls on down, it starts to slowly clear off and rocks stop and the slash gets caught on the side and the water starts getting clearer. And then eventually you end up out in the ocean and you've got this big, beautiful ocean of clean water. But that dark, sooty mess is still traveling, but it's less, it's way behind you. When you get to a point that you, and this is a lot of, some of the people have said to me in the group that, oh, I don't like that zone. But when you get to a point where you can look at a mirror and look at yourself and go, wow, I'm actually looking all right. I'm fine. Behind you, you've got all that shit sitting there, all that slash mud rock. It's all there. But when you, and when you're injured and you look in that mirror, you can still see it. That's all you see. So you hate that person you see because it's got this behind you. When you can look in the mirror and see you, not that. That's a big step forward. And the other thing is, I thought I was dying all my life, and I wanted to die sometimes. But you don't have to. There's actually a good side of it. There's a side that you can survive if you want to, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's, yeah. You know, as I'm listening to you, I'm still in the river and watching all that. So yeah, I love the metaphorical and the imagery, because I think not all of us are audio learners. Some of
Mm.
us are much more visual and
Yeah.
kinesthetic. So anything, Ellen, you would like to share? Because one thing you haven't said, so I'm going to do it for you, is survivors. Not only does he do all this, but he's actually, writing his first book. Would you like to tell us a little about that?
Yeah. I haven't actually started yet, but my whole mind's racing about it. I've got a lot of stories to tell, and it's not just about um, sexual abuse or anything like that, although that's going to be a big part of it. But it's the journey that I had to go through to get there, and how it's all related to different things, how everything's related. Um, at 49, I had quadruple bypass. Did that have anything to do with the sexual abuse? Because I was always tensed up. I hid everything. My arteries were all tight from the fear all my life, the panic attacks and that. And it might have been, it might not have been. But when you talk to people, I had prostate cancer too. So I've been through a whole lot of things. I've even seen the UFO.
Yeah.
I've had a life of a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And it might be interesting and important to me, but I'm fairly certain that other people have some similar sort of life. And to get it out there and tell a story, I think sounds good to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like something to do.
Well,
Mm.
it's quite cathartic, really, isn't it? When you,
Yeah, I wrote a story about my sexual abuse, and that's what all this is.
yeah,
Oops. Um, and that is public, sort of, through the organisation, but I don't know if anyone's heard of the
yeah,
Bristlecone. Yeah.
yes, yes.
So that's where that came from, because we went to one of those conferences and I read a few stories and it gave me so much inspiration to tell my story that way.
Mhm.
Mm.
No, that's incredible, and I love that you've done that, and I think it's so powerful because survivors, we need to find our voices. So, Ellen, can you just stay right there, please, while I finish up with our audience?
Okay.
And,
Thank you for listening to me, people. And, hopefully I helped you.
I would say without a shadow of a doubt, you definitely have.
Mm.
Everyone, please know that Alan's there will be a couple of ways to contact him, and they will be listed in the show notes below. So as you are watching the video, you can scroll down, you'll see all the ways you can contact him. And just very grateful to him today for his experience, his wisdom, and his attitude about it all. Really, I have really, yeah, he's Alan's made me think, and I'm so grateful for that. So one of the things, the bigger things out of this part 2 for me was actually recognizing when those light bulb moment occurs, and as Alan said, it's actually recognizing the linking, understanding, oh, that's why I couldn't speak publicly. It was actually connected to, I could never really use my voice. Where did that come from? Being sexually abused. So for all of you amazing survivors out there, please know this: whatever linking is needing to be addressed in your life, it will happen. And when will it happen? When you're ready to deal. So as always, beautiful ones, I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.